Good morning. I need coffee. So today I'm going to review the Mr. Coffee 10 cup coffee maker model BVMC PSTX91. Also provide some pointers and instructions, so if you decide this model is right for you, you'll know what to expect. And the best way to review and share the features of this coffee maker with you is to make a pot of coffee. Yes! It took a few pots before I figured out the chemistry to get a nice brew from this machine. And now I'm pleased with the results. There's a local cafe near me. They brew amazing coffee and they sell the beans they use. So I've tried to recreate their brew with different equipment like the AeroPress, the French press, a Keurig machine, and even a cold brewer, only to fail. But this Mr. Coffee machine gets the closest to creating a morning elixir with the flavors and aromas that I enjoy, which makes sense given the cafe uses an industrial sized drip machine. When you first get the machine, you'll need to do an initial clean to get that new car smell out. To clean for the first time, simply wash the decanter, the lid, the filter basket, and water reservoir with a mild detergent, like a mild dish soap, and rinse well. Run a brew cycle with water only without the coffee or a coffee filter, then rinse, and then according to the instructions, you're ready to brew. However, I suggest repeating the process a few times until you no longer smell plastic or metal. That's what I had to do. I also recommend that when you make coffee, don't use the ratios of ground coffee to water in the instructions unless you'd like a very weak cup of coffee. I typically use Dean's Beans Mocha Sumatra, which is a medium roast, or Dunkin' Donuts Original Blend, which I really like. And I found that in general, 1 heaping tablespoon per 6 fluid ounces of water makes a solid brew. This is chemistry, so you'll need to experiment. This model has a water filtration system that uses a carbon-based filter to remove 97% of the chlorine from the water for better tasting coffee. You rinse off the filter before and after each use, and there's a red indicator here that lets you know when you put it in. The filter should be replaced every month or approximately 30 brews. The machine comes with 1 filter, but you don't have to use it. The filters are a bit expensive, so if you already have a Brita or a pure water filtering pitcher, just use that water, or just use the water from your tap if you like the taste of it. I'll get to the benefits of this stainless thermal decanter in a moment, but there are times I miss not having a glass carafe. For example, typically with a glass decanter, there are markers for the number of cups along the side. You fill it up with water, and then you dump the water into the coffee machine. This model has a removable reservoir that you fill instead. Hopefully the gaskets on the reservoir hold up, or else it's going to be a drippy trip to and from the sink. Now, this is a great looking machine. I found placement to be a little tricky in our kitchen though. First, it's 14¼ inches tall, which is taller than older coffee makers. So if you brew under a standard cabinet, which is roughly 17½ inches above the countertop, be careful. My first 2 water only brews, which were to clean the machine, created so much condensation under the cabinet that if I hadn't realized it, the cabinet would have eventually warped. I soaked a paper towel with condensation from under the cabinet, not to mention that it could have damaged the under cabinet lighting. Additionally, with the reservoir on the left and the brew tray to the right, this requires space on both sides to get access. So placement can be challenged if you have busy countertops like we do. The unit does have nice cord storage here on the back though. All right, finally we're gonna make some coffee. Since I unplug the machine when not in use, that's my own energy saver method, I need to plug it in. Now this coffee machine has a delayed brew feature, which is really nice. If I wanted to brew tomorrow instead of right now, I first need to set the clock using the hour and minute buttons here, then press the set delay button and set the time I want the brew to occur using the hour and minute buttons. To turn on the delay brew, I press the delay brew button once. Keep in mind that there's a safety feature that requires the decanter be under the unit for it to actually brew. You can also dim the clock display and supposedly save energy by pressing the dim display button here. Since I want to brew coffee now, I press the brew now button and we wait. While we're brewing, what I also like about this model is that you can grab a cup of joe mid-brew. So when you pull out the decanter mid-brew, the machine pauses for 15 seconds. One of the features that I'm indifferent about is that here on the display is a fresh brew timer. It automatically activates when brewing starts. It increases in 15-minute increments up to 2 hours and lets you know how long ago the coffee was made. Not sure why this is necessary for consumer-based product given I'm not running a restaurant out of my house, but either way, if I was going to make a second pot of coffee and wanted to reset the timer, I'd have to turn the machine off by pressing the brew now/off button, and that resets the timer. Once brewing is finished, this annoying alarm, which sounds like a smoke detector, lets you know with shrill beeps. Unfortunately, it can't be shut off. Personally, I don't like unnecessary alarms, nor does my other half, especially on the weekends. So I wish there was an option to silence it. The alarm also sounds after the cleaning cycle, which I'll show you in a moment. A few other features that I really like are the stainless steel thermal decanter keeps coffee really hot for hours and warm for almost 24 hours. There's also no heating element under the carafe, and the outside of the carafe never gets hot. You can place it on a countertop without a problem. It's totally awesome. To pour coffee, you press the button on the lid and voila, hot Joe. Unfortunately though, keep in mind that because the decanter is stainless steel, there's no way of knowing exactly how much coffee is left in the pot. Well, unless you're Superman or Superwoman. Now that I've enjoyed my coffee, and now that the machine is cooled, it's time to clean up. You simply rinse the reservoir and water filter, empty the brew tray, and then wash it. What I'm not a fan of is that it's not easy for me to wash the decanter. Aside from struggling to figure out how to twist off the lid the first time because I wasn't wearing my glasses, I didn't notice it was written right on the lid. I have large hands and the opening is narrow. So I have to use a bottle brush, and you will too unless you have really small hands. It's important to note that the decanter cannot go in the dishwasher. Also, the cap can retain water after you wash it, so be sure to get it all out just to avoid any possibility of mold or mildew. The coffee maker will let you know to do a deep cleaning after 90 brew cycles or if 2 consecutive brewing cycles take more than 9.5 minutes. The cleaning light will remain on unless you run a cleaning cycle, and that takes roughly 45 minutes because it pauses for 30 minutes in the middle. To clean, fill the reservoir with 6 cups of undiluted white vinegar, remove the water filter, add a coffee filter, put the decanter underneath, and press the clean button. Once that's done, remove the used coffee filter, rinse all the parts, and brew 2 full 10-cup cycles with clean water. If the inside of the decanter gets stained, use a solution of equal parts water and white vinegar. Let it sit for 20 minutes and then wash it. So one last thing I want to share with you while we enjoy our coffee together, and that relates to customer service. We received this coffee maker as a gift from friends. When we finally opened it up, there was no removable brew basket in the box. Huh? Not sure whether it's a quality control issue or perhaps someone purchased the unit to pilfer parts and then returned it. Shame on them. Either way, too embarrassed to tell our friends our generous gift was missing parts, I simply went to MrCoffee.com, which is where you can order replacement parts and filters, and I ordered a new brew basket. The brew basket was only $4.99, but the shipping costed more than the part. Anyway, I received the brew basket, and it takes some brute strength to push it in. Either way, I was excited to make my first cup of coffee, but then realized the part that holds the water filtration system was also missing. Are you kidding? Of course, you don't really need the water filter to make coffee, but it still annoyed me. So instead of ordering that part, I called 1-800-MR-COFFEE and I pleaded that they send me one. Anyway, the short of that is that after multiple phone calls, being on hold, getting disconnected, hold, disconnected, trying the live chat, getting disconnected, blah, 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 so on and so forth, I eventually received the filter part thanks to Nancy from the live chat. I finally had a complete coffee maker after 14 days of waiting on parts and an hour of my time calling and live chatting. Phew. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, please do me a huge favor and like it, and most importantly, please consider subscribing for more product reviews, fix-its, and how-to videos. I think I'll review a power tool next. Thank you so much for watching. This coffee's delicious.